The book highlights the idea that modern businesses should segment their market based on customer purpose or the customer's goal, their objective. The reason for this is traditional marketing segments markets by demographics, how old people are, and by socio-economic category, how wealthy they are. So, for example, my late teenage daughters, or the older one's 20 now, but they grew up in a upper middle class professional family, and we had a comfortable level of income. So they would be classed as teenagers or college students from probably a B category family. And you can imagine a two-dimensional matrix. On one matrix, you've got the demographic age, and the other on one axis, and the other axis you've got the socio-economic category: A, B, C, 1, C2, D1, D2, E, whatever. And a box on there is college kids from a B family. And that's a segment. Well, that's all very well if you want to understand the age of someone, and that might tell you some things about how big of an apartment they need, what type of car they might need. It might tell us things like the probability of whether they're married or not, whether they have children or not, and so forth. And it also tells us how rich they are, which tells us how much they can afford. And these could be important things. They do relate to selection criteria. However, since the e-commerce world emerged in the late 1990s, it's been more important to understand the customer's purpose. The example in the book was given to me by Alan Cooper, who was one of the developers of the goal-directed design technique that includes personas as a way of describing archetypal customers. And Alan pointed out that if you own a website called flyfishing.com, you care about people who want to go fly fishing. Their purpose is recreational fly fishing, maybe on a Saturday morning. And he used the example of an assembly line worker from the Fremont, California automotive factory. These days it makes Tesla. Back at the time it was a General Motors factory. And he said, imagine you've got the assembly line worker and the general manager of the factory, and they both like fly fishing. Well, if you own flyfishing.com, they're both your customers. But if you segment your market by demographics and socioeconomics, you'd have those people in different market segments. So if you want to create great customer experience, you need to segment the market by purpose.
It follows from our observation that sometimes the same person buys the same type of product or service for very different purposes. So a classic example is project manager Anita from the Fit for Purpose book, who orders pizza to the office to share with her colleagues, and that's one kind of pizza. And the pizza she orders for her family at home on a weekend, that's a very different kind of pizza. So very different criteria satisfy people in those two different situations. And therefore, Nita chooses to bring her business and spend her money at two very different businesses. And if any of these two pizza businesses try to compete in a different market segment defined by a different purpose, that will likely be a failure. So the pizza that was very fit for office delivery would have taken too long and perhaps been too expensive for that weekend snack. However, the very basic pizza that was a very good weekend snack would have left kind of the wrong taste in the mouths of Nita's colleagues in the office, working hard at the end of the project. So, and pretty much at every industry we look, every kind of product or service, we find that sometimes it's the same product and service, but a customer uses it in 2 or 3 different situations for 2 or 3 different purposes, and the different sets of satisfaction criteria follow from those purposes, and therefore meeting those fitness criteria might take a very different product. The product may have to be designed differently, or implemented differently, or delivered differently. So that's a new look on market segmentation that the fit-for-purpose framework offers as an alternative, or perhaps complementary to the existing ways of market segmentation that are very well established in the product development and service design communities.